Around this time last year, my TikTok For You page was filled with people parodying Republican makeup. Think bleach blonde dye jobs, orange foundation, unblended contour, clumpy mascara, and sometimes a tight-lined waterline, but only the bottom waterline. This all categorizes this look. While anecdotally, this is seen among Republican constituents and even some politicians, Republican makeup and high-ranking MAGA officials presents differently. Think Kristi Noem, the inspiration for today's makeup tutorial, and local Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, Melania Trump, Lara Trump, and Carolyn Leavitt, to name a few. All of these women take Republican makeup a step further, and with a combination of plastic surgery, create a defined Mar-a-lago face aesthetic. Further, these women have also proven themselves to be Trump loyalists, and their alignment to power is clear, along with their recognizable makeup style. I argue that this is intentional and a form of body fascism, a strategic political choice to have filled-in lips, cheeks, and foreheads, adorned with false eyelashes and cakey foundation. The closer these women, and even men, as we'll discuss later in the video, are to the MAGA inner circle, the more drastic their facial transformations are. While diving into these connections step by step, I'll be demonstrating Mar-a-lago face in real time and doing a semi-instructional makeup tutorial. But before I do that, I do want to acknowledge that I am not a makeup artist or expert by any means, but I was online during Dramageddon in the era of 2016 beauty gurus, so I think that gives me an ounce of credibility. But yeah, those are my qualifications for doing the tutorial. And I also had an era where I would match like my eyeshadow color to my outfits, and I would leave the house sometimes with rainbow eyelids. So again, I think that gives me some qualifications, and that was for an entire year. Another kind of disclaimer and something that I do want to acknowledge is that a lot of the inspiration for this video came from Amanda Mariana. She's a video essayist and comedian who produces cultural commentary. She has 2 essays on her channel, Why Do Republican Women Look Like That? And Mar-a-lago Face, The Aesthetic of Fascism, that I will link below. But a lot of the ideas that I'll be discussing today will be building on her thoughts and even using some of the same sources. So I will also make sure to cite all this in the description as well. And I do want to say that both these essays were super high quality, super informational, and in depth. I went back and I watched them while I was writing the script for this video, and I was just like really blown away by like how innovative the ideas were and just super amazing. So definitely please go watch those and read the articles that she also has listed in her descriptions as well. So Amanda does also begin her Mar-a-lago face essay with a disclaimer, another disclaimer that I would also like to include, and that is when discussing the appearance of women, specifically women in politics, these conversations can start drifting into a misogynistic realm. So making surface level insults about these women's appearance is not something that I will be doing today. I think that's low-hanging fruit and also misogynistic, but I will be analyzing their makeup styles and the almost kind of uniform face that they've created, which do go hand in hand with their extremist policies, which is fair game to criticize, I think. But back to the makeup tutorial. I'm gonna go back and wash off what I have right now, which is like a couple of like spot concealer things and like some eyebrow gel, and I'll come back with my skin prepped for a full face. So excited for that. I'm back. I washed my face. I also put on a moisturizer to give this makeup a fair chance. We'll be using this picture of Kristi Noem for reference. Printing this out in my university's library was like a really great social anxiety test, so that was super awesome. I'm gonna start off by going in now with this foundation stick from Essence in the shade 160. It's more darker than I normally go for, but I'm trying to be authentic. I'm also not going to use any primer because that's normally used for like an even application and also for makeup to last long, and I don't need that today. But before I apply this, I do want to define what Mar-a-lago face even is before we talk about it more in depth. So in this letter to the editor from the Journal of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery, researchers define it as a culmination of procedures. That is a deep plain facelift, brow elevation, buccal fat removal, fat grafting, serial fillers, neurotoxin overcorrection, and veneer-based dental harmony. Now, a lot of these are unfamiliar terms, but they do indicate the price tag that this face comes with, noting that the entire procedure can amount to over 6 figures. This is an indication of not only political alignment then, but also wealth and status. These are important things to keep in mind as we go out through the video. Unfortunately, I don't have 6 figures to spare. Like I said, I am a college student, and I'm also trying to go to law school after this. So I also don't want to make any permanent changes to my face. So I'll be basing my look today off of what I can apply to enhance these procedures, like overlining my lips, changing my brow shape, and as I've already started doing and trying to emulate the makeup style that Christina has on. So for the makeup portion, I would also like to define Mar-a-lago face as a heavy glam. That is, a smoky eye with lashes, full contour, and filled in lips and brows. And yeah, I'm just going to apply this foundation stick now and blend it out and do it super fast. So yeah. Okay, so foundation stick is on. I blended it already. I started with a brush and then I used a beauty blender. I'm also going to go in next with just my regular concealer. This is from Juvia's Place. It's in the shade 22. It's really full coverage. To kind of stay true to Miss Gnome here, I'm just going to put some under my eyes and then not really in any kind of like highlight points because it doesn't look like she has a lot of that going on. So just to kind of hide some more eye bags, that's what I'm going to do super quickly. So Juvia's Place, under the eyes, 2 wings, kind of like old-fashioned style. All right, so now that everything is on concealer and foundation that's blended out, we are going to get into where Mar-a-lago face even comes from and the roots of this politicized aesthetic choice. They're not from great places, as we will see throughout the video. I also do realize the distinction between my neck and the face. That is also intentional, but I'm aware. Anyways, so Amanda kind of gets at this in her essay, but this makeup style and also kind of overfilled face does have parallels to Miss America pageants and also Fox News hosts. Obviously, both these places have a close alignment with Trump, and he even owned the beauty pageant from 1996 to 2015, according to various news articles like this one. And this means that he likely had ownership over the standards of beauty that was presented and constructed, and what he interpreted was as like pageant worthy or, again, beautiful. He'd also abuse his position of power and walk into the changing rooms of these young women, which is a point of contention in the 2016 election, but that largely went unpunished, as we know. I'm going to go in next with some blush and some contour. Okay, so going in with the blush now. Okay, so I just did blush. I'm gonna go in with the contour now. For my cheeks, I'm gonna put some on the back of my hand, like how I did the blush, and then go in with a brush and just like do. And also I'll do the sides of my nose as well. So I kind of want to go back to Fox News, which it's no secret that it's a right-leaning news organization and that they heavily favor Trump. Even one of their former hosts is our current head of defense and infamously leaked sensitive information over what is basically a texting platform. Let us not forget Signalgate. Thank you. And so I think it would be I also think that it would be kind of unfair, going back to what I was saying about Fox News or just broadcast media like in general, that this is all like that Mar-a-lago faces simply because of partisanship and Trump's ownership of Fox News. That's not really the case. Bach et al. Does demonstrate that women are held to different standards in broadcast media. And so like basically beauty is going to be a construction. It's going to revolve around our ideas of whiteness and anti-aging. And even if you look at these women more broadly too, another study from Badinger also finds this directly, and they also find that women are cited less in news than men. And this kind of adds another layer as to why Mar-a-lago face women look how they look then, right? Not only is their aesthetic dictated by Trump, right? He has a really large influence over Fox News and over what's on there, but it is also aligning with the standards of what we have for broadcast news, or political avenues where people are supposed to be camera ready, like press conferences. Think Carolyn Leavitt, for example. This then points to the fact that this like overall look has more extreme standards than what we typically see, but it still operates within similar bounds. Women's credibility is often derived from attractiveness, and as a result, whiteness and no signs of aging prevail, as these are the most commonly constructed beauty norms at a baseline. This is also one of the issues that I had with one of the articles while researching for this video that I was going to cite. From Gregorin et al., they found that in their study that during low information elections, people use attractiveness as a voting cue. So rather than voting for like policies, they'll just look at whoever they think is more attractive and vote for them instead. And they found that this benefits conservatives because they are more beautiful. But when you go to look at the methodology like any good social scientist would do, they achieved this via survey, and the only question apart from demographics that was asked was, what is your evaluation of the physical appearance or attractiveness of this person compared to the average among people living in your country of residence? No mention of how this attractiveness was constructed was included, not even in the discussion. And this is what I really want to focus on here, is this constructionness of what is attractive. and how these women are, yes, subject to media and camera-ready beauty standards, but also that there's another additional layer of power and political signaling that comes from said beauty, that comes from Mar-a-lago face, as we'll be investigating. Okay, so big picture here, all these women have a specific makeup look. Who really cares? In the words of a good chunk of the internet, is it really that deep? As I've been alluding to throughout this entire video, this is going to be an intentional choice. So going back to the letter to the editor that I cited earlier, they find that there's an increased demand, at least on the plastic surgery standard, to conform to this face type. Because remember, there's two components, plastic surgery and then the makeup that we're doing today. They refer to multiple news articles that find patients coming in with these types of requests specifically during election periods. So thinking about the timing here is also important. This matters because, as they note, this aligns with broader theories in political psychology. Group membership often manifests through visible symbols, and in this case, the face itself becomes a mechanism of ideological signaling. Basically, this type of face combined with makeup is creating in-groups and out-groups, not only in a partisan sense, but also just how partisan, just how far right. Now, what I'm going to say next is going to raise some eyebrows, which is also my cue that I'm going to draw them on off camera, pure 2016 beauty guru style, and I will come back with an additional building block to this last point. Eyebrows are on. Use this angle brush and this Morphe palette, and then one of the brown shades, it was this one, to kind of create that brow look that we have going on here today. She does have a different eyebrow shape. It's a lot more arched than like mine naturally are. I was gonna glue mine down, but I couldn't find my glue sticks, so we're gonna be working with this. And I also like filled them in, like it's really kind of dark here instead of like feathering it out, just because that's what gnomes look like. Also, again, back to our reference picture here, not a whole lot of feathering, just kind of more just like super defined. So that's what I did. I also used a darker color than I'd normally use, because again, that's kind of what gnome has going on, as well as the rest of our Mar-a-lago face beauty gals. So yeah, but anyways, we're gonna go back to what I was saying earlier. So this particular look that we're creating today creates visual in-groups and out-groups. It is recognizable. This type of creation is not new, and the alignments of beauty aesthetics with far-right movements have a longer history than just Mar-a-lago face, and has roots in fascism, a point that our girl Amanda once again points out in her video essays. Amanda uses the example of Mussolini and Italy more broadly during World War II, and the role that women played in dictating what was an acceptable appearance, even participating in a parade called the Great Parade of Female Forces. I think that this is an excellent example, and I think that you can even zoom out and apply this to things like propaganda posters during this time that curated an image of women as caretakers, mothers, and the appearance that comes with this role. So the role of aesthetics in fascism is crucial, and the term should first be defined before moving any further, similarly to how we define Mar-a-lago face and the different components of that. So to define fascism, we're going to be turning to the Council on Foreign Relations, who note that fascism is a mass political movement that emphasizes extreme nationalism, militarism, and the supremacy of the nation over the individual. Fascism, they go on to note, exercises near total or absolute control over society. This includes presentation and who is deemed worthy by the state. I think that this can best be illustrated also by introducing an additional concept, the concept of aesthetic citizenship from Kukuska and Leiblet, and their work kind of within this area. Again, I'll link everything down below with this, but they come to define aesthetic citizenship as a biopolitical field of self-making and a site of disciplining, educating, and manufacturing proper citizens through visual and sometimes surgical technologies of surveillance and recognition, including the recognition of strangers. Again, we can kind of see this in-group and out-group idea as introduced earlier. Kukuska and Leiblet then assert that the implications of aesthetic citizenship are vast, and they note that the system can impact feelings of belonging among constituents and affect systems of governance as a whole. In particular, aesthetic citizenship can be tied to governing bodies and beauty, as beauty now becomes biopower and is embedded in politics. So, going back to our case study of Miss Gnome here and Mar-a-lago face, to answer the question earlier, yes, it really is that deep. Various studies in political science and beyond have demonstrated that constituents take cues from political elites, and if these elites are sending a visual signal that women should look a certain way, that has an impact. It transforms and shapes opinions. What's more, oftentimes for women, this hyper-feminine presentation also comes with extremely hardline and, yes, fascist policies. Amanda cites the video of Noam standing in front of a prison in El Salvador, surrounded by shirtless men, to demonstrate this. Again, I think that this is a really good example. As we can see by this video, for Noam, her femininity softens her actions, as the men behind her appear menacing and dangerous, a clear racialization, and the creation of in-groups and out-groups. Noam has also been the face of the current immigration crackdown that we're seeing today, up until recently, that has violated countless civil liberties and torn families apart, again, up until a few weeks ago. Amanda's video was filmed and uploaded before everything that has happened in Minneapolis and the larger ICE raids at hand, but I think it is more than fair to say that the increased budget of ICE and the militarization of this internal force is a clear sign of authoritarianism and abuse of power, of serious political acts. With Noam, her appearance makes it seem as if she isn't causing as much harm. She's just a pretty woman after all. She's just a gal that loves eyebrows and false eyelashes and a good lip gloss. So how much damage could she do? To use a term coined by our girl Tracy here, in this study, the misogyny paradox and the alt-right, Noam can be categorized as a white power Barbie, a figure that exhibits the allure of power, glamour, and sex, that does extremely well in an increasingly digital social media age, which relies on influencers and elites to disseminate certain messages. If we take this idea of the white power Barbie and Noam, her appearance then increases the bounds of what policies are more acceptable to enact, making more room for extremist policies to obtain legitimacy. Basically, the things that we do to our faces matter, and they have political implications, even if a little lip filler seems surface level. Okay, so now that I have my face on and eyebrows and all that stuff, and we've kind of set the foundations, we are going to next be diving into the eye makeup that we see on Miss Noam here. To do that, I will be using that same Morphe palette. It is very old. It might give me an eye infection, and I'm also going to use this ColourPop palette. This one is very like purpley. Yes, as you can see, she kind of has like a purple thing going on here, so I'm going to try and emulate that again, kind of as how I defined it earlier. It's going to look a little bit more like a smoky eye. I'm going to start off first by just going in with a simple transitions shade, probably this one here, to kind of set a base. And then I think I'm going to go back to this palette and just kind of mess around with probably like these two shades here, this kind of lighter purple and then this darker purple, to create some more dimension. And I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, smoky eye done very haphazardly. I also didn't do like my waterline because she doesn't have any on. We'll do eyeliner in a second. But I do want to expand this conversation also to men, just because Mar-a-lago face has also impacted them, most notably Matt Gaetz and George Santos. So for men, we can also see the connection between Mar-a-lago face and the alt-right within the manosphere more broadly, with male influencers becoming famous for looks maxing. To be clear, this also has ties to incel circles directly, and another alarming point to make is how we've accepted some of these terms such as looks maxing into slang terms, kind of legitimizing them in a sense as well. Video essayist and commentator Rumi has a great video on this, and I would recommend watching that too. It'll be linked. But back to the manosphere. Men, increasingly young men, are also seeing a rise of body fascism, as Tibaldi and Burnett explain. Their study looked at a far-right magazine titled Man's World, a digital publication edited by the neo-fascist lifestyle influencer Raw Egg Nationalist. They found that men were encouraged to go as far as to smash the bones in their jawline to adhere to the body standard constructed in this realm, to achieve a sharp, masculine look. This is communicated to the audience by far-right manfluencers. And in the world where podcasters like Joe Rogan or Ben Shapiro have proven to have an influence over political elections, this is also impactful. Men are communicated harmful beauty standards as well, ones that influence their political decision-making, again due to in-group and out-group political reasoning that has ties to the aesthetic citizenship concept that we introduced earlier, created by Mar-a-lago face. So, knowing now that Mar-a-lago face and body fascism impacts man, and in turn society more broadly, what can be done about this proliferation? As our beloved letter to the editor writes again that I keep citing, despite widespread coverage, no peer-reviewed aesthetic literature has addressed this development. This gap is notable. As surgeons, we frequently analyze anatomical, procedural, and psychological elements of elective surgery. Yet here we have a novel phenomenon where the face becomes a vehicle for political expression, and the medical community has remained silent. So, based on their quote, and just from everything that we learned in general, this topic then needs to be discussed more in academic circles, especially considering the broader political turning point we are situated in today, when discussing topics that concern fascism, institutions, gender, race, and a variety of other sociological concepts are being attacked. In short, we need more research in this field apart from just cultural commentary pieces like this one. And yeah, I do understand also that this could potentially prove to be a difficult task, as Masanari et al. And Rambukana et al. So these two studies that I have right in front of me here. Also note, this might be a little hard just because of the difficulty of researching alt-right groups due to things like ethical concerns and hostility towards researchers in these areas. But despite these challenges, and considering the broad implications of Mar-a-lago face and body fascism, as we've discussed in this video, we still need to approach this issue. It's not just going to go away if we don't research it. A face that signals political conformity is significant and should be looked into further. Academic research in any area is crucial for uncovering further patterns, implications, and further directions, and this too can be applied to Mar-a-lago face. So now that most of this eye makeup and most of the makeup is done, it's only appropriate to add some final touches of mascara and winged eyeliner. Okay, so eye makeup is done. I also went in and I tightlined my waterline with this Tattoo Studio eyeliner from Maybelline because I looked at the picture again and she does have that going on. And also my eyeliner wings aren't super even, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to move on to lips next. I'm going to use this lip pencil from NYX. Also, this is in the shade Club Hopper. I'm going to overline them a little bit because I don't have lip injections, so I'm going to try and make it look like I do. And then I'm going to fill it in also with this like pink like lipstick color because it's kind of like a pinky nude, and go over it with this NYX Butter Gloss. That'll give it more of that nude tone. Okay. My lips have been filled in. They're very uneven, but that's okay. I set my face also with this Urban Decay setting spray, and I did put on some highlighter as well. And I think that we look pretty similar. Mar-a-lago face makeup is done. In true video essay fashion, while I was editing, I did want to refilm something. I wanted to refilm my outro, so here I am. No Mar-a-lago face on currently, but I did just want to conclude by saying please check out the links that I have down below in the description. Those have all of the academic citations that I was referring to, as well as the video essays that kind of inspired this work that I created today. So definitely please check those out. Those are amazing resources. And I did also just want to conclude by saying that, as you see in this video here today, and just more broadly, next time you see Mar-a-lago face, do make sure to think more critically and more deeply about it. It's more than just a makeup style. It's more than just a plastic surgery type of face as well, in a combination of those two things. It is a form of political signaling that has created in-groups and out-groups and is a form of body fascism. And so yeah, I just want to conclude there. And thank you so much for watching, and yeah, thanks again. Bye.